So we're here today in earnest down in Ousburn to meet the lovely guys from Digital Union. So tell us a little bit about what it is that Digital Union does and what sort of service is available to start-up businesses and businesses that might be trying to scale as well.
Well, Digital Union is very much one of the key strands of the work of Generator, which is the organisation that sort of owns and runs Digital Union. It's a collective and membership network organisation of essentially at the minute creative digital businesses from across the region. The core focus of Digital Union really is to ensure that there's an organisation that represents those businesses, that speaks on behalf of those businesses, and also works with the businesses to identify what their key issues are, what their barriers to growth are, what the barriers to access and talent are, for example, things like media attention, how the sector itself and the individual businesses get attention in the media for the great work that they do. So Digital Union really operates as an organisation that looks after that side of things on their behalf, if you like. A lot of people are quite happy thinking, well, at least someone's got our back. So that's essentially what Digital Union does in terms of the services. And then the add-ons is that because we represent such a strong, vibrant and large business community, we represent that community to things like the Local Enterprise Partnership, increasingly DCMS. In the last sort of 6 to 7 months, we've been having an increased dialogue with DCMS. So, you know, with that, we are representative when we're influencing policymakers and we're influencing economic organisations as well, like the LEP, about what the community of businesses need, what the sector needs, and making sure that that sector or that subsector of the whole tech sector, if you like, isn't ignored.
What sort of businesses should be going, we should be speaking to Digital Union, we should be speaking to the guys at Generator?
You have businesses that are, you know, PR that are more looking to increasingly specialise in digital marketing. We've got quite a lot of creative agencies in place, but we're increasingly attracting people like software companies. And you know, and I think these companies are all sizes. Some are quite small, some are, you know, really micro businesses, but it's a really, really wide range. But in terms of how we integrate them, we have a number of strategy task groups, which include like a talent and skills task group and a media task group. And then we have the advisory board as well. And there's businesses of all sizes and ranges sit on those advisory boards. So you'll get people in the advisory board who run a business with 4 or 5 people. And then you get people from like Tombola and other companies such as Orange Bus and Zero, like some of the bigger agencies in the region. So it's really, you know, interactive, and people feel that they can have their say and influence what we're trying to do for them.
Well, how far does Digital Union reach, and what areas are sort of covered by yourselves?
Digital Union as an organisation is increasingly expanding. We do have several members now in the Tees Valley. We're currently talking to organisations in the Tees Valley how we can expand on that. We're also starting to have discussions about potentially to be setting up a Digital Union in another city. But at the minute, we're very much northeast focused. I mean, part of this was just to make sure that we got the offer right in terms of how we were representing the businesses to, say, a LEP or to a number of different local authorities, you know. And I think that was really important that we did that. And then the other thing to say is that, you know, we're increasingly engaging with the universities and the colleges in the region to make sure that that talent and skills pipeline's encouraged and freed up, if you like, to make sure that the businesses are getting what they need from graduates and people leaving college, and also to make sure that the universities and the colleges, their curriculum is fit for purpose, really.
So you've mentioned the business support program. Could you tell us a little bit about what that service offering is and how that works for your members?
Yeah, sure. So the great thing about the business support program is that it's kind of fed in from the Digital Union members. So with our ears to the ground of the community that we've got, we actually know firsthand what the businesses need. So we run masterclasses throughout the year, and they can be from PR to agile project management, whatever, responding to the business's needs, basically. We also offer business coaching for all sizes of businesses. As Jim's just said, it can be for a sole trader on his own just starting up to a more established SME, and that can cover anything from looking into just the UX of your website or how to grow your business. So we've got experts from kind of every walk of life, if you like. And that support then goes all the way up to our scale-up program, supporting those businesses in the region who are ready to make the next step.
So is this fully funded, or is it sort of a membership benefit?
So most of our support is fully funded through the ERDF programme, and all businesses are eligible for up to 12 hours support. But alongside that, we do have specific digital union activity. We've got our summer party coming up, which is exclusively for members, and other initiatives like that.
Brilliant. So you've been around for how long?
Well, it's probably we've been
the history.
yeah. There's 3 strands to generate, and we've talked about 2 of them.
Yeah.
So it's very important to mention the third, which was the first pillar, if you like, a generator, which was music development. And music development comes in different forms, but generators been going since 1981, and there's been, was very much initially focused on supporting musicians, making sure they could access the music industry, and that their talent was being heard by the music industry, if you like. So Generator's background was very much in that, and we went from a transition period we went from musician support and supporting artists and songwriters and composers, if you like. And then it was sort of like, well, okay, well, we're supporting this. How can we support the growth of music business, develop mechanisms and unlock potential funding to be able to do that? And we did that for a number of years. And then what happened that was really interesting for Generator in its transition and its growth and its expansion, if you like, was that basically through one of our business support programs, what we were essentially doing is guiding businesses through the digital disruption that had had a massive impact on the music industry. And while we were doing that, and after about 2.5 years of doing that, we started getting approached by creative agencies, software companies, film companies, asking for help from us. And we were, to be honest, we were sort of like, well, what do we know about what you do? Yeah. And it was them that pointed out what our capabilities were. We were just living in this music industry bubble sort of thing. So they were saying, you know about digital distribution, you know about content licensing in the digital format, you know about IP protection, all these things. Because we were going through an age where everything was freely and available on the internet, and everyone was just sharing things on the internet, whether it was copyright protected or not, without any due care and attention in a lot of instances. And I think a lot of other businesses were worried about producing digital content and then being able to protect it. And what we'd done is we'd learnt those protection mechanisms and helped businesses develop those protection mechanisms, for example. So we realised that we had a lot more capability in digital than we first thought. So then we went through a transition period where we started thinking, well, let's work with some of these businesses and see how it gets on. So we did that, and we ended up working in one of our programs with 96 businesses really effectively. We were working with Digital Union at the time, that was owned and run by Gateshead Council. And then when we came into our latest program, or as we were preparing for our latest program, which was due to start in 2016, we were speaking to Gateshead Council 6 months before that about how much we could use Digital Union and go in partnership with them to make sure that we had a conduit to the businesses, and they basically said they were throwing the towel in. So we acquired it and have rebuilt it since then.
So what does membership look like? Obviously, there'll be businesses that are, as you say, micro, small businesses, your one-man bands, all the way up to large agencies. Do you have a tiered system?
Yeah, so like, membership starts from like £100 for 1 to 2 people, and then 2 to 4 people to a couple of, 2 to 4 people to £200, 5 to 20s, £300, and then it scales up. Okay. So the top line's £1,000, and then we also have a variety of sponsors, and then we have a friend scheme as well, which is, again, it may be organisations that sit outside the sector but have an interest in the sector. So they may be like other educational partners, right, or other companies that are looking for ways to, quite bluntly sell their services to the sector. So we have a range of different offers for different companies. Right. And then what we're mindful of as well now is that we want to progress, and we're working with people to progress the offer into more tech SMEs, right, because we think that the SME offer is the one that's interesting and more productive for those businesses. And also, obviously, there's a range of businesses that are growing and have digital teams within them. Yes. And I think it's really important that some of the things that we offer both through the Generator Business Support Programme and Digital Union are becoming more and more relevant to those businesses.
Yeah. So one of the things you mentioned you support with is finding talent, and when businesses are trying to recruit. How do you support that process? Are you actively signposting people within jobs boards?
Yeah, so we have a vacancies newsletter where we collect vacancies from our members and people on our business support programme and fire that out to interested parties once a month, but it's also part of the manifesto.
One of the key pillars of the manifesto is around the talent and skills. So for example, one of the key calls that we felt really passionately about was to make sure that we had a campaign that was basically one sector, one region, one story. So if you went and Googled like tech sector Northeast or tech sector Newcastle, Gateshead or whatever, you'd probably come up with about 5 or 6 different documents that explain what it was like, that have all been produced by interested parties who've done it for maybe slightly, it might be inward investment or it might be just as a profile piece, or, you know. We want to make sure that we bring in all these organisations, so organisations like Sunderland Software City, you know, Gateshead Council, other all interested organisations, bring them all together, see if we can then start plotting, so by the end of it we have one piece that everybody uses for whatever purpose they use it. Once we've got that established, we can start focusing more on relocation pieces to try and attract talent from other cities, from other regions. In parallel with that, it's making sure that we have a skills drive, so that basically we're working with the universities and the colleges to ensure that what they are producing in terms of graduates and in terms of people leaving college is fit for purpose and can feed the growing companies in this region. It's an international problem. It's not just focused this region, but that's why it's really important. We've got 5 universities here that probably have the most people graduating in tech-related courses in the country. Piece around them not understanding the breadth of the businesses here and how many great businesses are here and how they're all recruiting. They may be leaving the region, so it's a combination of making sure that these graduates know that there's opportunities and also making sure that the universities are producing the right sort of graduates.
So anybody watching this who's thinking about locating their business, why is the North East such a great place to base yourselves?
It's the age-old question, isn't it? I mean, if you're locating a business here, then, you know, probably one of the key things, if it's the cost of locating a business here, you'll find it much cheaper to locate a business here than you will in London by far. And if you relocated the business here and brought some of your team here, I think they would find the quality of life a lot greater. So there's the quality of life thing, which is important. But I think the cost-effective solution that the North East and even Newcastle, Gateshead, what have you, can provide is a fundamental reason why you should relocate here. There is a lot of talent, as I said, you know. We've got organisations like Digital Union and Dynamo and others that are working on, and you know, Sunderland Software City for sure, that are working on these talent issues and the skills issues and working together to make sure that they're solved for the business community, working with the universities as well, as I've said before. So there's lots of reasons and there's lots going on, there's lots of positivity and very, very, very determined drive to make sure that the community and the business community keeps growing and the sector keeps growing in this region.
Such a strong community feel up here, especially in the creative and digital sector. Everyone's very supportive and it's a small scene as well, so everyone's always looking out for each other. There's a lot of events on, there's a lot of networking where you can meet people that you might end up working with. Yeah, it's just a great feeling of having each other's back and collaboration.
How does Digital Union sort of combine community and networking, and why might that be beneficial to a potential member?
Well, I think it's several ways, because I think, you know, I mean, obviously we have our networking events and we have networking breakfasts where we can bring the members together and other interested parties can come along as well, you know, potentially because we want them to be members, but also because they can get access to those businesses. The community side here is really strong, and I think people do enjoy being in the same room with like-minded people still. And I think the other aspect of it, what Digital Union does, is going back to what I was saying to you before. So anyone who is a member can volunteer their services, if you like, and engage with one of the task groups. And if you're engaging in the task group, you're then sitting there driving, well, at least Digital Union policy on what we can do and what we can be active in and where we can make meaningful differences and have meaningful campaigns. But that sense of community, as I say, is you could be a business that's just 1 or 2 people, or you could be a business that represents 400 people, but you can still be part of that process. There's no tier to it. I think it's really important that that people who are operating and starting businesses or operating smaller businesses that are really, really great, because we've got some amazing businesses here that, you know, maybe 20, 25 people strong, but they're producing, you know, international work that thousands of people here in this city will have seen, but not realise that, oh, all of that stuff there was produced in Gateshead, for example, you know. Also making sure that that community shares and shouts and boasts about that, and I think in some ways the great work that is done makes our job easier for them. But I think that sense of community goes back to the fact that it doesn't matter what level you're at, you can get involved.
So you've mentioned the manifesto. Obviously the next 12 months for you guys is going to look quite busy, but talk us through some of the highlights, the things that you're sort of hoping to achieve in the next 12 months, and hopefully, you know, what you hope to deliver with the manifesto.
There's certain key things in the manifesto that, so basically, someone put it, oh, if you crack 2, 1 and 3 will just follow. Yeah. So 2's this one sector, one region, one story piece. And I think if we can crack that, for example, and that's a key thing for me and a key ambition. So initially we've called the first meeting and many people have come back saying, great initiative, I'm definitely supporting this. But I think once we crack that, that's going to help with the relocation piece, talent attraction piece, it'll help with more media attention. So it's almost as if like 2 or 3 of the other elements will hang off that. The other thing that I'm really interested in outside of working with the universities and the colleges, we said we would establish a skills exchange, which can be sort of cross-company mentoring. It can be a bit of like maybe 2 companies saying I want to go and speak to another founder or another MD, or I want to go and speak to another senior developer, and you know, so we're looking at establish that just so that they can talk to each other. But another element of that may be that in the world where there is a skills shortage, it may be that, you know, so for example, one of the businesses says, I need a couple of other developers for a couple of weeks, who's got spare capacity in their business just for these 2 weeks or something. Yeah. So we're looking to establish that. You know, there's always that cautionary tale of like, well, what happens if we let them go and they like it there, and then all of a sudden they get poached. But you know, again, we're trying to keep continuing to build that sense of community so that there's an open and honest system in place to do that. And we also, you know, a little bit selfishly from a generator perspective, but there is that whole issue of post-Brexit. We don't know, we've got to be really mindful of that and how that's going to affect the businesses. Yeah. But the other thing post-Brexit is obviously European Regional Development Funding is going to go, and if it's not replaced, then it's difficult to see how we can continue offering the level of support we give. We might have to sort of start picking and choosing what we offer on a pay for place basis. Which isn't wrong, do you know what I mean? But at the same time, it will reduce the level of the support for the sector that we'll be able to offer. So they are really the key things that we're driving forward with in the manifesto. Within that, again, one of the key things is the commitment to work with partners and in partnership to make sure that, you know, that we're working with the best people, or we're approaching the best people and having dialogue with the best people to make sure that we can achieve what we've set out.
I think another key area, just picking up on what Jim said, that we've picked out of the manifesto is the issue around diversity, especially within the digital and tech sector. So we've actually started a series of digital debates, and our first one was on diversity, which was really well attended. And following up on that, we're going to produce a diversity charter for digital members to sign up to. So I think that's really another key area for us to be focusing on, not just on gender diversity, but also on wider diversity issues going forward.
And the last one, why Newcastle?
Came here because it had a thriving live music scene and I wanted to get involved, and I did. You know what I mean? My background's very much in live music and producing large-scale live music events. I really do think that Newcastle is a mini land of opportunity. I think if you really put your head down and do something, there are opportunities here to do what you want. And I know so many people who've just got on with doing their own thing and being successful. Yeah. And I think if you look in the right places, the support is here. Yes. And also on top of that, it's just a great place to live. I mean, we're here in the Ousbourne Valley. I mean, you know, what a vibe. I had this conversation with a guy who has an office in Golden Square, and you should have seen it. It's like a multi-million pound office fit out. And he asked me where my office was, and when I told him it overlooked the Biker Farm, he was like, he had office envy. I couldn't believe, and I was like looking around this place going, you've got office envy? He was like, yeah, I'd much rather be there.
I mean, you touched on community, and you know, everybody we speak to seems to say the same sort of message. you can run a business in the south and you'll be competing against people who are constantly stepping you down. I think round here, if you start a business, the community aspect is all about lifting each other up.
Yeah.
It's all about collaboration.
Definitely. Well, thank you both very much, and yeah, it's been a pleasure. Cheers. Thank you very much. Cheers.